Welcome to the Advance Your Art podcast, where we talk about the journey from artist to entrepreneur and everything in between. You've worked hard to hone your craft. Now take it to the next level with tips, techniques, strategies, and routines used by successful artists to grow their businesses and careers. Now, let's get started and have some fun with your host, Yuri Cataldo.
Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of Advance Your Art with Yuri Cataldo. If you're interested in learning how to build a company, make money from your art, or transition to a new career, you've come to the right place. If you like this episode, please like and share it with a friend. Today, I'm chatting with Margie Warrell, best-selling author and founder of Global Courage. She's recently released a new book a couple of months ago called You've Got This, Life-Changing Power of Trusting Yourself. Margie, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. In spite of all circumstances and doing well, it's at least it's springtime, end of spring, early summer, so it's nice outside. So that's good.
That helps.
Yeah. How are things in your neck of the woods?
Oh, it's good. At the time of this recording, I've been kind of locked down for a couple of months, and a little bit of the cabin fever in one way, and looking forward to life opening up, and frankly, getting on a plane and traveling somewhere. And yes, I don't think I've spent so much time in one very small space for a long, long time.
Right. I think a lot of people are having that same feeling. Well, great. So for my listeners who are less familiar with you and what you do, how do you describe yourself and what you do?
Look, I wear many hats. I am an author. I am a speaker. I am a coach. I am a mum of 4 kids. I'm an intrepid Aussie. I'm a Forbes columnist. I think that's probably some of the major hats that I wear.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that you do so much and you're so proficient at it. But I like to back up a little bit. So when you originally went to college, what did you want to do?
Well, way back then, I actually did a business undergrad in business, majored marketing, and I thought, I want to work in some very glamorous field, and work in advertising or in cosmetics or something like that. So it was all a far cry from what I am doing now. So I studied business, but in my late 20s, I had a bit of a breakdown / breakthrough, and thought, I don't want to spend the rest of my life marketing consumer goods. I actually would really love to do something that's more meaningful for me. And I went back to college, studied psychology, was moving around different countries in the world, ended up in the USA, and decided to train as a coach, executive life coaching. And when I was living in Dallas, Texas, with 4 kids under the age of 6, I started a coaching business. And because I just felt passionate about helping people get out of their own way, as I've been working to do for myself. And so I started doing that. Just when my 4th child was 6 months old, I kind of hung up my shingle and thought, okay, let's see where this goes. And it's taken me on quite the journey now. He's 17 years old, so nearly 17 years of doing that.
Yeah, well, that's great. So I want to talk about the idea of fear for a little bit, particularly with your journey, because of the fact that you went to school for business, then you were in the marketing world, and then decided to quit and then start this brand new journey with kids in a new country. Mm-hmm. How did you, which, it sounds like it's, again, for anybody that's a lot of things to kind of worry about at that time, even now. So how do you approach times when you're apprehensive and fearful back then, and has it changed now? But how do you push past that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess it's why I do everything I do, and the titles of my books will kind of speak to where my passion is. Find your courage, stop playing safe, train the brave, make your mark, and now my most recent book, You've Got This. You can probably pick up on a little bit of a theme in there.
Slightly.
And And at the end of the day, I write the books I've wanted to read. I've had to get out of, overcome my own fears and define my own doubts and trust that tug on my own heart, even when there was a voice in the back of my head that was saying so loudly, who the hell do you think you are to want to do that, to even like write a book, for instance? Like, who do you think you are? I grew up in rural Australia on a small dairy farm, one of 7 kids. No one in my family had gone to college. No one read a book in my house growing up. And so I've had to defy that little voice in my head so many times. Like, who do you think you are? Are you deluding yourself that you have anything to offer? And, you know, and comparing myself to other people and going, oh, they're so much better educated, or they're so much more gifted at this, or yada, 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 all those voices. And so really my own journey, when people ask me, how did I get to do what I do today at the level that I'm doing it? And I would just say I've been really brave and worked really hard, but I've always done what felt truthful to me. I think at the end of the day, just being truthful to what I felt called to do. And I think particularly those who want to express themselves in the world in some way. I mean, you can, in whatever form that may be. And I mean, I'm a coach, speaker, writer. I'm just passionate about empowering other people. But, you know, some people are artists and some people are musicians and some people want to, I don't know, design homes or whatever. And I just think, you know, if you have it in you and it keeps tugging at you and there's just this urge, it's because it's there for a reason. And, you know, one of my favorite books is that I would encourage to anyone who ever struggles with doubt and wants to express themselves more fully, authentically, bravely, is The War of Art, which I cite Stephen Pressfield in my own book a few times. But, you know, we just have to get out of our own way, give ourselves permission to write the shitty first draft and the shitty second draft. And I've had to do that many, many times.
Right. I bet with as many books as you've written, you're right. The blank page is often what a lot of people have to push past. What originally made you want to be a writer as part of your journey in your career right now?
To be honest, writing, I did not grow up thinking I want to be a writer at all. And I honestly, I still wouldn't define myself as a writer. I would say writing is something I do. I wasn't someone like Elizabeth Gilbert or that's like, oh, I have to write. Like that is just what I have to do. I was born to write. That's not me, but I've done a lot of writing because I'm passionate about my topic, and writing as a way of sharing my passion and my insights and encouraging people. I think if what am I? I'm a chief encourager, and I do that in many, many ways and forums. But writing is one way. And I remember when I started my coaching business out of my bedroom in Dallas, Capel, Texas. And I remember doing a newsletter, and I just write this newsletter once a month when I just email it. This is before I had email lists or anything like that. And someone said to me, you know, you should write a book. And I was like, oh, straight away, who am I to write a book? And I remember saying to my husband, you know, I've never studied writing. I went to a school that had 15 kids in the entire elementary school. I was the only kid in my grade. I don't know where the apostrophes go. You know, who am I to write a book? And he said, honey, people get a lot of value from your insights. Why don't you give yourself permission to write just the best book you can? And then one day when you know where the apostrophes go or whatever, I mean, that's what editors are for, you can write another one. And with that, it gave me permission to write my first book, Find Your Courage. And it's now in 7 languages. And I look at that book and I versus my most recent book, You've Got This. And I think my most recent book is a better written book. I've become a better writer. But you can't get to being a better writer or a better artist or a better anything unless you start somewhere. And I think so often, I think more so women than men, frankly, we hold ourselves back by thinking we have to know exactly what we're doing or be brilliant at what we're doing, be masters of our craft before we start out. And I probably one of the biggest favors I've ever done myself repeatedly is really, really live that mantra that done is better than perfect. And maybe I'm putting people off now as they listen going, oh God, is everything she's done kind of, not very well done? But no, I guess I've just got into action, and by giving myself permission to do something that's less than brilliant, I've done stuff, and then you learn and you get better and you get better and you get better and you get better. And I've said that to my kids. I say that to everybody who wants to do something but keeps balking at the gate, like, oh, it's not the perfect time, and I'm going to do another course, or I'm going to, they're just waiting and waiting. I'm like, just start doing that very thing that you so want to do. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait till you're brilliant. Don't wait till you know exactly what you're doing. There is no way that the best way that we get good at anything is the doing, not by studying it, not by planning another plan and another plan, or, just get into action.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So I also want to ask you more about your books. So you've got 5 of them now. What, for each of those, you mentioned why you wanted to write the first one, but so stop playing safe, brave, make your mark, and now this one, you've got this. What made you want to write each of those books, and where did your ideas for those books come from?
Yeah. There was just something that inspired me in my life. And my most recent book, You've Got This, I've actually had massive disruption on the last few years personally. That's really just turned my world on its head, in that sense that we got moved to a country. We sent our children to one country. Then my husband's company sent us to another country. And so right now, in the midst of this pandemic, I have 3 children in the United States. I'm in Singapore with another child. So many things have gone not the way we wanted. Mm-hmm. He's then had challenges with his work and career, just lots of things where our plans have literally just fallen apart. And in the midst of all of that, financial pressure, et cetera, when I haven't had the certainty around me, I've had to look within myself for the certainty I couldn't find. Mm-hmm. And so You've Got This was the book that I wished I'd had to read, as I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to navigate the path ahead? How did I land in this spot? How am I going to navigate the path ahead? And what do I really want to know right now? What's the space I want to be in? And I believe that when we really trust ourselves, that whatever happens, we can handle it. Mm-hmm. When we trust ourselves to pursue that, whatever it is that calls to us, like to me, it's a real calling. It's like, I just feel like I have to do this. And writing this book was actually a calling, that actually we have all the resources we need to figure it out as we go along. We mightn't know how to figure out what's happening a year from now, but you can figure that out a year from now. Mm-hmm. That if you just trust yourself, if you operate from that belief that you've got this, the sooner you do that, the sooner you will have this. And I think men and women obviously doubt themselves, but I think women in particular, we tend to doubt ourselves more and back ourselves less and sell ourselves short. And so I wanted to address the specific issues, the specific challenges I think women have too. The book is written for men and women, but there's a chapter in there just for women and one just for men, because I think women, we have some kind of patterns where we kind of tend to be perfectionists, and we tend to talk ourselves down, and when we get a compliment we deflect it and go, oh no, and hone in on all of our things we're not doing well versus owning what it is we do well.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. I mean, yeah, your book sounds wonderful just for any time. I know that there's a lot of times when me personally, I do that to myself. So this is going to be good. Okay. So beyond then your book, you've kind of expanded it in a few other areas, but I want to talk about Global Courage, which you started 10 years ago now. So what made you want to start Global Courage, and what's Global Courage about?
Yeah, look, that's sort of my big mission in the world work, that I'm going to be an empty nester come this fall, and I know I'll be able to commit more time to that. But I really believe that we would live in a better world if we had more people who had the courage to make hard decisions, to take right actions, and even to listen to opinions different than their own, to be braver in how they lead. And so, and I also think if we had more equity, if there was more women sitting